11th day of June, 2018. Can we all please rise and pledge allegiance to the flag? Charlie?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Charlie, thanks for covering for us. Okay, we have a quorum. Quorum is 5, really. Okay. Comments from members of the commission? Anything that you guys want to bring up, say?
No, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're past that. Approval of the minutes of the last meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the last meeting, May 21st, 2018.
Okay, Charlie.
Second it.
And Gail seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the meeting minutes has been approved. There is no unfinished business. The new business is approval to hire applicants successfully completing all requirements to reach our authorized staffing levels. Chief?
Yes, first of all, thank you. Thank you all for your time. A big part of what you do, as you know, is the civilian oversight of our hiring process whenever we conduct one within the City of Lawrence Police Department. And tonight is kind of the final approval that we need. As you all probably know and remember, each step along the way you have had the ability and task to oversee what we're doing, make sure we're doing it in a fair, legal manner, and a transparent kind of a way. We want to have accountability in our hiring process and bring, obviously, the rules of the merit law to the City of Lawrence Police Department's hiring process. So I appreciate everything that you've done every step of the way, from the original posting of the fact that we're hiring to the physical agility test, the oral interviews, the psychological backgrounds, the background investigations, the psychological and the medical. And now we do have a list that I do request that you essentially approve it and allow myself and Captain Schneider to fill vacancies as they become available. So essentially, by granting your approval tonight, you're giving us the authority to go down the list in order and take the finalists and offer them employment. So that's what I'm here to request.
And
does that make sense?
And that's what we actually have in front of us, is the approval to let you do exactly that.
Yes.
And so I can make the motion, or one of you can make the motion that we accept.
Mr. President, I so move that we approve the motion pending on new business.
Okay. You get a second?
Seconded.
Gail seconds it. And so I call for a voice vote. All in favor of the motions, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Chief, you hire him.
All right. Thank you very much. We were kind of talking offline before you adjourned, or before you opened the meeting. So earlier this year, Sergeant Larry Jones, one of our late shift sergeants, he retired. Detective Scott Hancock is in the process to do so as well. Sergeant Tanya Tilson, Sergeant David Newland, Lieutenant Ray Anderson. These are all obviously veteran police officers in the City of Lawrence who have served admirably and are going on to the next chapter of their lives. So the list that you just authorized me to hire off of will kind of be the new blood coming in and replacing these vacancies. We have an authorized strength with LPD of 62. Right now we are at 59. So when you take those 3 vacancies and then the replacement hires for these retirees, you're going to see we're well over 10%, probably closer to 12 or 15% of our entire force will be new hires coming soon. So that's, I mean, imagine if we were a large metro department, that would be literally hundreds of people, right? So I appreciate everything that you have done to allow us to get to this point, and I think it's an exciting, no disrespect to those who are exiting the department, but it's an exciting time. We'll have some new blood coming in, and we look forward to training them and working with them and having them carry on the fine tradition of those who are retiring.
On that list, Chief, how many of of them are we going to lose to ILEA for a while?
I would have to check with Captain Snyder to be sure, but I would say 4 or 5 already have ILEA, which is awesome. Yeah, and then of course there are some, as we know, that we'll have to send off to the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy in Plainfield for months.
Very good.
Yeah, so we're excited. Also, you'll see on the agenda, there's, if I don't want to jump too far ahead, but there's an officer recognition section on the agenda. So I'm bypassing that this month, or at this meeting, but I did want to take just a moment to publicly recognize and thank not just police officers, not just the officers themselves, the patrol officers and the detectives who responded to the Lions Club shooting the other night, where 5 young teens and 4 young teens and 1 11-year-old were hit by gunfire. But I also wanted to recognize the amazing firefighters and paramedics that were on duty that night right next door, where all those who were injured initially fled. I mean, just imagine you're a firefighter on duty on a Saturday night, and you know things are relatively calm, and then all of a sudden that essentially that bombshell happens. It's so unusual, unfortunate, tragic, preventable. But they really, kind of like bees out of a beehive, they all scrambled and started providing first aid to those kids that were shot. And of course, the investigation is still underway. But I did, just kind of for the record, I wanted to acknowledge the great work of the Lawrence Police Department and the Lawrence Fire Department, our colleagues in public safety. I mean, they just did a fantastic job. So I wanted to point that out. And then a few nights before that, on Thursday night, Lawrence police officers responded to the Churchill Ranch apartments where there was a report of somebody firing a machine gun. 2 of the officers who were arriving spotted the suspect vehicle. Chase ensued. Driver threw it. We know that he threw a handgun out because we recovered it, and the officers witnessed that. But then he got into a neighborhood on IMPD's East District, over by 4100 Midhofer, in that general area, and we know that he exited the car, and without saying too much on a recorded line here, but he did present a deadly threat to the officers who were forced to fire their weapons at him. They did. Struck him in the leg. It was kind of a flesh wound, no bone damage, but suspect was hit. However, he was able to flee. And he did just that in that neighborhood, and he got into a house, and it was about 2.5 hours later, with the assistance of the Indiana State Police and obviously IMPD, that he was located and essentially gave up peacefully at that point, and so he has been arrested as well. So it has been just a very unusual time for our department here just this past week, but our officers have been performing flawlessly. And when I say officers, I also include our investigations division, our detectives, who all came out on Thursday night for that. So. Yeah, so it's not really, I don't have an officer standing here next to me to officially recognize. Perhaps I can do that in the future once the administrative review of all the actions of the officers is complete. I'll introduce them to you, and you can meet them in person.
That'd be nice. Yeah, I know the fire departments have always worked fairly close with us, with law enforcement.
Sure.
And so consequently, that wasn't unusual, but it was unusual in as much as the fact that the kids knew where to go to get help.
Exactly.
And since the police weren't there on the scene right then, it was,
right,
let's go get some help over next door. And that is so comforting to know that is what the kids in that group, at least, knew to do. And,
right.
And we do appreciate the fire department, the police department, the hand-to-hand working situations. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And you're applauding them to do just exactly that. So, thank you.
So on that incident, really, without going too much in depth, there was an abundance of adult supervision. That wasn't an unsupervised teen party. In fact, just the opposite. It was very well coordinated and planned by adults, and it just shows you that sometimes those things can spontaneously happen regardless of how much responsible supervision there is. So.
You're exactly right.
Yep. So, all right, if there's nothing else for me, I'll have a seat.
Chief, real quick.
Yes, sir.
We kind of did a new program this time around for the hiring process. And, speaking for myself, I thought it went very, very smoothly, and very well this time around. Were the goals and objectives you wanted to reach with this new program, one, met? And two, do you look at tweaking it at all, or we're going to pretty much do the same thing?
They were met. We kind of changed our philosophy a little bit in that we did everything we could to encourage people to succeed. It wasn't real regimented, militaristic kind of a hiring process. It was it was us helping the applicants to navigate their way through a hiring process, which can be very difficult, especially if you've never been through one before. A lot of times, for example, the interview, it's a structured, formal, scored interview conducted by an outside consulting firm. Now, if you were to go to any other company in the country, you might sit down and expect to be interviewed where it's a back and forth and it's a dialogue and it's a discussion. That's not the case with police departments. You get scored on what you say, and the interviewers are not allowed to ask follow-up questions. So they would, for example, they would ask a question, and then it's incumbent upon the applicant to whatever the time frame is. For example, you get 3 minutes to answer the question. It's can be very intimidating. You remember, I'm sure, when you're standing or when you're sitting before a panel of officers. So yes, to that end, we did succeed, I believe. We've got some great candidates. We also, by combining the physical agility test and the written exam on the same day, that made it a lot easier for applicants from other communities to make it into our process, and it reduced the number of trips that they had to make. It helped us control the large group of applicants. Another thing we did this time with the physical agility exam is that we basically made it's open hours. Show up anytime you want between 8 a.m. and 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I believe it was. So we didn't give applicants a specific time to be here. And that gave them more freedom because most of them have had previous jobs. And what we found in our previous hiring process in 2016 is that we were losing some, what I thought were very potentially strong applicants because they would show up 5 minutes late. And yes, you have to be on time as a police officer, especially in the hiring process. But by making it a little bit more relaxed, I think we got a very good group of candidates. And in fact, some of them even emailed Captain Schneider and complimented the City of Lawrence Police Department's selection process. So,
Good.
yeah.
That is a long, drawn-out process. I know my cousin went out to Los Angeles to the LA Sheriff's Office. It takes a week and a half to go through their screening process.
Right. Yeah. It's larger agencies can do that. They can have, for example, out-of-state applicants, and they condense the entire hiring process into 1 week, or in this case, a week and a half. So it's a long process, and
Well, during that
But it's worth
process,
it.
during that process, he thought, well, I'll just put in applications everywhere, and he did, and Hughes Aircraft hired him.
awesome.
So
Hey,
that,
hey,
you can lose good.
Yeah, sure can.
Chief, if I may, or Chairman, if I may, Chief. Quick question. Did we end up with 34 eligible applicants?
I believe we have a lot more than that.
Okay. And then, so we have 3 current vacancies. We're about to get 5 retirements, so that's 8.
Right.
And then 2 more in January, so that's 10 ultimately over the next 6-month period.
Yes.
So then, okay. And then at the last meeting, I believe, didn't Board of Works have to did they certify the whole list that y'all provided them that we had approved first?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, so that's all.
Board of Public Safety.
Okay. So is there anything else in the process that we're responsible for at this point?
No, this is
y'all
this will be
extending the
final,
offers
right.
then? Okay, well, thanks for that clarification.
I think it was 32.
Is that what Captain Schneider reported? Is that 32?
Mr. President, according to minutes, it was 34 applicants.
That's right, we had.
Okay.
By the way, there's a thing here, it says comments from the chief, is that it?
I think I've commented enough. And I'll be respectful of your time, so.
There's no citizens to comment except us. Anything from the pack here?
Motion to close?
Mr. Chairman, one more thing, one more announcement that you will all find very important and relevant is that we are having a groundbreaking ceremony for the new police station on July 11th. It's exactly, obviously, 1 week after the 4th of July, which is on a Wednesday, so the following Wednesday at 10 a.m., and that'll be located at 5150 North Post Road. The mayor and I will be making a few general comments. We'll have an invocation of kind of a blessing for safety of all the workers and the land over the course of the next year so that we can have this marvelous police headquarters constructed in a safe way.
Will there be donuts?
I don't know if there'll be donuts or not.
Wow.
I can arrange for that.
Now, wait a minute, this is the old snafu. It wouldn't be donuts at that point.
Right.
Never mind, sir. Strike that.
Yeah, Mr. President, motion to dismiss.
I second it.
Okay, yeah. Motion to adjourn has been made and seconded, and therefore it is a fact of life.
Thank you very much.